We're live.
Oh, are we live? What is it?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
I'm going to hide my video.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Cliff. Is everybody going dark? We're just kicking back, y'all. You're about to get some stories. I'm going to give you the introduction, though, to the one man that you really need to know who's going to bring you the Cliffhanger crew. Ladies and gentlemen, please make some noise for Dre Anderson.
Hello. Hello, my friends. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cliffhangers. It's the world premiere of the world's greatest storytelling show right here in Seattle, Washington. I am your host. I'm Guy Nelson. And what we have tonight are four of the best storytellers in Seattle who are going to share amazing stories with you. Cliffhangers, true stories of peril and courage right here tonight. Now, these are all true stories, but since we are improvisers, we do have some improvisational artists working with us tonight. We have Jason DeLeo, who is our musician. Jason, are you there? There he is. He's going to be playing music along with all of our storytellers. And we also have Ann Nelson, who happens to be my sister, who is going to be drawing along with the stories. So what you are going to see right in front of you are these stories turned into art and to music. So we are all associated with Unexpected Productions in Seattle, the world's greatest improv company. And so we're all glad to be part of that, and we're glad you're here tonight to watch us. And just a quick reminder that this is obviously a totally free event, but we'd love to have your financial support. So if you'd like to donate some money to UP to support great artists and great storytelling and great improv theater, please do so. There is a link somewhere that you will find to donate whatever works to our great cause. So let's move on to our stories. Now, our first storyteller, we're going to tell these in teams, and I'll explain that in a moment. But first will be Kent Whipple. There's Kent. He's a longtime member of Unexpected Productions. He tells a lot of stories. He teaches storytelling. He's a pro in the field. He's also our promotions and outreach manager at the theater. So Kent's story is going to be about a trip to Europe that was very, very weird. So we're going to hear that. Also, Sara Mcmann is going to be one of our storytellers. Hi, Sara. And Sarah's going to tell us, Sarah's a longtime actor, performer, teacher at Unexpected Productions. So she's fabulous. And she's going to tell us a story about a trip to the beach that turned out to be a little more dangerous than she thought. Our next storyteller will be Dre Anderson. Dre, hello, man. There is Dre. All right. You're the coolest dude. Dre's, he's a teacher. He's a fabulous rap artist. He's created shows at Unexpected Productions, and he is going to tell us a story about an adventure that happened during a graduation party. So that'll be very fun. And our fourth storyteller is Hitt. Come on in, Jay. There's Jay, who is our managing director and longtime performer and teacher at Unexpected Productions, a fabulous improviser and storyteller. And Jay is going to tell us about a very weird adventure that happened in a college dorm. Okay, so those are our four storytellers that you're going to hear from tonight. Now, one other thing about this particular format, since it's called Cliffhangers, everyone is going to take you to the edge of the cliff with them. So they're going to do that by telling their story in two parts. The first part is the setup, and it's going to lead us right to that cliff. And then we're going to take a pause and go to another storyteller who will tell the first part of their story. to the cliff, at which point we'll take a pause again and come back to the first storyteller, and they will then tell us how their story resolves, how it ends, and how they somehow manage to survive against all odds. So that's how we're going to tell these stories in 2 parts. Everybody's going to tell a 2-part story. All right, so everybody wave, all storytellers wave, and then we're going to let you become our audience. And we are ready to start with our first story from Mr. Kent Whipple. So let's bring up our artist. Ann Nelson will share her storybook with us. Hello, come on up. Screen sharing artwork, and there it is. All right, so let's go to Kent's story, and there it is. Kent, his story is called A Trip to Europe. Kent Whipple, take it away.
And I love my glasses. Well, I knew when I met my ex that we were soulmates, for one thing, and I knew we were complete opposites, and I knew he'd probably get me killed one day. He was fearless, and I'm not. He will jump off a cliff, and literally has jumped off a cliff without even thinking, where I spend a lot of my time worrying about the sun coming up, and worrying about if I'm going to fall in a manhole or eat a bug. But he's a good-looking guy, blonde hair, blue eyes, mischievous smile, and a big head, kind of like Charlie Brown. And one time he got really mad at me at a Halloween party when I actually drew a jack-o'-lantern on the back of his head. But he was fearless, and he had traveled a lot as a kid. He had a little more money than my family had, so he traveled to Europe many times and thought we should go. And we decided to go to Prague. And Prague sounded like the most exciting place that it could be. It was right after Czechoslovakia became free. It was just a few years after that. And it was during the Balkan Wars when the United States was actually in the Balkans helping free some people. But Americans were really not well liked. But we decided to go to Prague. And I decided, being the nerd that I am, I was going to read everything I could about it. And so I went out and got Rick Steves' book, Europe to the Back Door, and read all about it. And he made Prague sound incredibly dangerous, which Dirk said I was overreacting about. But, they talked about how there are pickpockets everywhere and right-wing nationalists, Russian nationalists still there. But it sounded so exciting to me. So we found this hotel. It was beautiful. And it was on a row where all of the embassies happened to be. The embassies took over all of these old mansions. And this is actually where they did film Amadeus, the movie. And so it was really exciting. We had this inn that big, giant wooden oak doors that were like 12 feet tall and creaked when you opened them. And there was an innkeeper, and I thought innkeepers were kind of a made-up thing. And he was actually this tiny little old man whose legs were as big as my arms. But he was very nice, and he spoke English, and he treated us pretty well. So I, of course, with my anxiety, was a nervous wreck the whole time we were going around. Dirk decided to wear... He always wore a white T-shirt that was probably a couple of sizes too small for him to actuate his chest, and a Yankees cap. Well, according to Rick Steves, you want to look like a local. So I don't know. I was wearing tweed and like an alpine hat. I looked like the dad from The Sound of Music, and it wasn't really very local. But every day there were these protests of kids on our street down below the inn, marching down the alley of or the street of all of the embassies. And it's strange because they're not like protests here. They were really wearing dunce caps or round hats and blowing whistles. That was a big thing. And banging pots. And they was quite unnerving to me. But Dirk, he didn't seem to give a shit about it, so I kept trying. So, like the first day, we went to the Jewish cemetery in Prague, which is really famous and really old. And it's amazing, you know, over years and years, there have been people, including Nazis, that dug up headstones and just piled headstones up in rows. And it was really sad. And I had a Jewish mom, so I just felt like they hated me there. And one day we went to the castle that is actually used for Disney, the Disneyland castle. What is that? The Enchanted Castle, I guess it's called. Well, it's based on this castle in Prague. And for some reason in my head, I was convinced like Boris and Natasha were there spying on us and just look at those Americans. Because Dirk looks so American, he might as well just had a neon sign that said, "Come mug me." Well, our last night there, or the last day we were there, we decided to go see the Astronomical Clock. Now, this is one of the most famous things you can see in Prague. It's this big giant clock built in the 1400s, and it has different rings and aisles and dials, and you've seen this in every steampunk movie you've ever seen. But there was like the astrological signs on one, the hours on another, the sun cycle, the moon cycle, and it had these little animated things. But I was a nervous wreck while we were there. And these animated things would come out like cuckoo clocks, only they were huge. Because Rick Steves said, "Be careful here because there are pickpockets everywhere." So I was more worried about being pickpocketed. And I mean, I could smell danger there. And Dirk finally looked at me and he said, "You know what? You've almost ruined this trip for me. You have to relax. Has anything happened to us so far?" And I kind of took a breath and acquiesced, and I'm like, "Yeah." So our last night, I kind of relaxed, let my hair down. And we went to this old bar where they served great Czechoslovakian beer. But it had these kind of vaulted stone ceilings, and it was way underground, and it looked like it could have been a torture chamber. And we met this husband and wife, this Czech couple that were so sweet. And we hung out with them, and we drank until like 3:30 in the morning. And then we decided to walk back to our inn. Well, as we were walking down the street, Dirk saw the Yugoslavian embassy. And he said, "Do you know what we should do? Doorbell ditch it." And I'm like, you know, I don't think it's a real smart thing to doorbell ditch a country we're at war with. And right when I was doing that, he rang some bell and went, "Run."
Okay. Wow. All right, so we're going to put that story on pause right there, and we cannot wait to hear what happens when you doorbell ditch in Prague, Yugoslavian embassy or something near that. All right, so that was fabulous. That's the first half of Kent's story, leading us right up to the cliff, and we're going to be hanging there until we return to his story in a few minutes. All right, our next storyteller is Sara Mcmann. Hello, Sara.
Hello, guys.
Let's hear the first part of your story. Sara's story is called On the Beach. Go ahead.
Okay, great. So I did a little research in preparation for this story. And what I found out is that since 1954, about 11,000 pieces of unexploded ordnance, which just means like weaponry, has washed up or been found on the island of Guam from World War II. This is like bombs and bullets and grenades and landmines and mines that float in the water. And they're mostly found like in construction sites, but also quite often found on the beach. So, and I found out about all of this because I moved to Guam when I was 12 years old. And when you move to Guam, the history of the island is very front and center, sort of where they've been and trying to become more of a modern city, all kind of mixed in it. But it was not uncommon to see a semi-truck with a nuclear warhead being driven down the main highway either to or from the base there. And at the same time, our home that we lived in was just down the beach from a bunch of caves that Japanese soldiers had lived in, had stayed in for years after the war, 10 of them. And the last man was found there in 1972. He was still there. And he was only found because, look at the bomb train, a bomb transport, it says. And they only found this last remaining soldier because he was fishing, and some local fishermen went into his spot, and he got into a fight with them, and they figured out who he was. But he said that all of them had known that the war was over, but they were so ashamed at being caught that they stayed in those caves for all those years. The Guam had that pretty intense history. And so our house where we lived was on the beach. And before you get too jealous, let me tell you that to get to the beach from our house, you had to go through the jungle, essentially. There was a path, but if you had not been down to the beach in like 2 days, the jungle would already start to reclaim the path, and you would have to take a machete and hack your way down the path to get just down to the beach. And on the hot days, because it was very hot on Guam and the days were long, and the houses there were all like screened in. So all your outer doors were screened in, outer walls. And I would sit there in the heat, didn't do much else, and I'd watch as monitor lizards patrolled the perimeter of our house. And they just walked around and around the house with their long tongues flicking in and out, flicking in and out. And I thought they were kind of cool until my dad said to me that they were meat eaters. And he said, and just to remind you, you're made of meat. So, and you know, so there was that, the jungle was always kind of making its way toward us. So even, and like in the evenings after dinner, we would take our food scraps and we would just throw them out into the backyard. I think that's exactly what the monitor lizard was thinking, Anne. That we'd throw our food scraps in the backyard, and the backyard would literally like undulate and come to life in waves as thousands of crabs came up and ate our food, and then just as quickly went right back down to where you couldn't even tell that anything was there. Now, I was a girl who loved like Grimm's fairy tales and adventure stories and stuff like that. So this was super exciting and cool to me, and you know, vaguely dangerous dragons and jungles that you had to hack your way through, like real life adventures. It was very exciting, and I was really thrilled to be getting a chance to wander around. And at 12, you know, I was still like really in my head a lot, and I daydreamed a lot, but I was also kind of putting one foot toward the adult world as well. I was an only child, and this was the 80s, so the early 80s. So I was really given a lot of freedom to explore around where we lived. And so I would spend a lot of hours going up into the cave and looking for signs of the soldiers. And I would go down to the beach. I would hack my way down to the beach and go spend some time there. Or I would go down to the reef. Our beach was, my recollection, the reef was about a mile out. You could go that far out and not go past your knees. It was very, very shallow, except for this one spot where the American soldiers, when they were stationed there during the war, had been very hot, very tired, and wanted to swim in this reef, this never-ending reef. And so they took dynamite and blew a hole in the reef so that we had a swimming hole. And I was pretty happy about it, to be honest. So I would walk around, I'd be in the caves, I'd be looking on the beach, I'd go for a swim in this blown out swimming hole, and it was pretty great. So one night I was adventuring and I armed myself with the machete. I made my way down to the beach, and the adults were in the house and they were having an adult party that I was not invited to. And so I started exploring, and again, I was down on the beach looking for shells. I was putting all kinds of stuff in my pockets, my treasures. And as I came around the corner, the moonlight shone on this object, and I stopped, and there it was, just sitting right there on the beach. A big, giant orb with spikes sticking out in all directions.
Ah, okay, I love it. Ooh, obviously some sort of very dangerous ornament on your beach, Sara. That is fantastic. Wow. Okay, we are hanging right now from the cliff of suspense, waiting to hear how that is going to end. Okay, so now we have, that's our second story. We're now going to return to Kent Whipple to see how his story ends. So let's bring back Kent's storybook page there where he left us before. His story is called A Trip. Now I can't read. A Trip to Prague. What does it say there? Okay. All right. So as you can see, they were there. Prague, the inn, running up and down the streets after a night of drinking. And Kent, where you left us was you guys. Yeah. Oh, were you going to say something?
I just was going to say, yeah, we just started to run.
Yeah, you were doorbell ditching, and you rang the doorbell and rang in front of the embassy. All right, so please, Kent, tell us how your story ends.
So we start running, which is easier for Dirk because he's in jeans and tennis shoes and a t-shirt. I'm dressed like Captain Von Trapp, and I'm wearing these really nice, hard dress shoes. But we're both kind of running, and we're going to go back to our inn, which is about a quarter mile away on Embassy Row. And as we're running, I'm looking around, looking at these gorgeous old buildings that were just opulent, when all of a sudden, out of the blue, there were 3 army trucks, or jeeps, coming in, and just boom, boom, boom. And one actually had a giant spotlight on it, you know, a jeep with a spotlight. And there are army officers with guns, and they're chasing us. And I'm running as fast as I can. I'm running as hard. Do you know when you run so hard that you feel like you're going to throw up? And I hadn't felt that way since I was a kid. And so we get right to our hotel or our inn, and we're in front of those giant doors, and we're pounding on the doors. And I turn around and look, and there are 6 dots from lasers of the scopes of guns right on my heart. And they're all in my heart. And I'm like, fuck, I knew you were going to get me killed. And I'm like, well, at least I made it to 33. And we're pounding. They're yelling at us. Dirk's laughing. He's laughing through this whole thing. And all I can think of is I'm going to end up in some Czech prison. And I don't know what the version of Czech Bubba is, but I'm going to be Czech Bubba's bitch. and pounding on the door. And all of a sudden, our little innkeeper opens up the door, and he's dressed like Scrooge from A Christmas Carol. He actually had a nightcap on that went down to there, and this like nightshirt. And the Czech army people are yelling at us. He's yelling at them. They're going back and forth. And when he started yelling for us, I, of course, ooched on next to him because he was my best friend now. And I was like looking at the officers going, yeah, what he said. And all of a sudden, they kind of stopped. The light went off and they left. And I was just standing there, my heart in my throat, tasting the bitterness of that Czech ale getting ready to be thrown up out of my mouth, covered in sweat like I just had taken a shower. Dirk is still laughing. And I turned to our innkeeper and like, what did you say to them? And he says, oh, well, they thought you were terrorists. And I'm like, why? And he's like, well, they know what's going on in Yugoslavia. And they thought you were terrorists. And I'm like, well, what did you tell them? And he said, oh, I told them that you were not terrorists, that you were homosexuals. So I can only say in 18 years of being with him, he didn't get me killed, but he certainly did change my life.
All right. Oh, fantastic. Oh, God. What a great ending. What a great ending.
Thanks.
So let's take a moment and look at the beautiful artwork that goes along with that story. That was fabulous, Ken. Thank you so much for that story.
And this is great.
Okay, a good ending. Fortunately, it turned out okay. And Jason, excellent music there, my friend. Good. Let's go back then to storyteller number 2, Sara Mcmann, who left us on the beach in Guam. Where's Sarah's page? There it is. Okay. And she was 12 years old with a machete walking on the beach at night and saw some sort of very dangerous thing sticking out of the sand. So Sara, tell us how this story ends.
Yes, so there I was on the beach with a floating, unexploded mine. And it had washed ashore, and I sat there staring at it, or stood there staring at it, and trying to decide what to do with this landmine, or this floating mine. You know, what should I do? What do I do? Oh, I gotta go get the adults. So I took off running, and I went back up to the house, and I was yelling, a mine, a mine. I was yelling, the mine, it's on the beach, I found it. You've got to come down with me. Come see. And so I told them all about how I found it and how there were spikes sticking out everywhere, and it had to be from World War II, and I had found it, and I was very excited, and wildness of it and the danger of it was just right down the path, and they had to come and see. They had to come and follow me. They all trot along behind me, and they had all been partying for a while, so it was kind of an adventure to them as well. And we all got down there. There it was, shining in the moonlight, this big round orb with the spikes sticking out of it. And I thought, oh, well, they'll know what to do. But they didn't know what to do. So we all just stood there looking at the mine. And we stood there, and we stood there. And then eventually one of you said, is that a seashell? You know, those pointy ones, are those seashells? And then one of the other adults said, is that a buoy? And that was it. The spell was over. It was, there was no danger. adults they slowly began to trickle back away. And as they walked up, some of them patted me on the head and patted me on the back. And I definitely had not entered into the adult world that night. They were very like, oh, well, good try, kid. And I was really bummed because, my chance to be a part of Mom's history was gone. And the wildness of Guam that I had like just right in my hands, it had receded and just become ordinary. There was nothing. It was a buoy. And so I thought, well, tomorrow I'm going to go and I'm going to explore these caves that had soldiers in them for 28 years. And I'll go on the beach and I'll look for more shells. But tonight I'm going to sit on the beach with my buoy not bomb and maybe take a dip in the blasted out swimming hole and stay a little while longer on the path. Stay a little while longer and stay wild a little while longer while the path back to the house slowly grew back over itself.
Yay! Wonderful. Oh, fabulous, fabulous ending to that story. I'm so glad it did not blow up. I thought that's what was going to happen there.
It didn't blow up.
Yes, good. Or it reminded me of coronavirus. I thought you were going to go there for a minute. It was one giant coronavirus there. With
Yeah, in 1984. Yeah.
Yes. The very
Thanks,
first
Anne.
one
This is awesome.
Mutated. Okay, great. So let's take a look at the storybook art we have to go along with Sarah's incredible story on the beach in Guam. There it is, Sarah, all there in front of you. Fabulous.
So cool.
Great. And Jason, again, love the music. Wonderful job. Okay, so my friends, we are halfway through our show called Cliffhangers, True Stories of Peril and Courage, right here from Seattle's Unexpected Productions. I am Guy Nelson, and we have 2 more storytellers to go, so stay with us. We're going to go next to, let me just remind you, first of all, again, that this is obviously free. We're so happy to be able to perform and share these stories for you. We'd love your support in any way, in any amount that works for you. If you want to Unexpected Productions and all the performances, the online stuff and classes, we do a lot to keep busy and keep Seattle alive and improvising. So there's a link there. Go to Unexpected Productions and donate whatever works for you. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Okay, next up is storyteller number 3. Where's my 3? There it is, 3. He is Dre Anderson. Dre, come on out. There he is. Dre is a fantastic improviser, rapper, performing artist, teacher, director, show creator. And Dre, you ready to go? He is ready. Look at that. Look at that face. Okay, so Dre's story is called, just so we can hear you. Okay?
You guys don't have
Dre's
Corona,
story,
right? I'm not going to get it through the screen?
I hope not. Hope not. All right, my brother. Dre's story is called Happy Birthday. Dre, take it away.
Hey, so I'm gonna take you guys back a little bit. Like, we're gonna talk about the times when Pokemon were the shine. Like, we're searching through the grass looking for these guys, right? I'm talking about maybe I was in the 2nd grade when I met my best friend. I'm talking about my rival. His name was John. And I swear it, I had Pokemon Red. He had Pokemon Blue. We both had a system link. It was like fated. Fated to go this way. I mean, and it's always been like this. We both joined football teams. We joined the same team. Then I switched to the Federal Way Hawks, and he stayed with the Des Moines Rams, and we played games against each other often. Like, I was a receiver, he was a cornerback. Like, you see where this is going. It was a little ridiculous. We were always such good friends, did all the things together, from going to wild waves to kicking back and missing a day of school to going hang out at the Puyallup Fair. Oh my God. Like, we had so many good times, right? We've been through so many things. My birthday is June 20th. So end of the year comes through, and we finally made it to our senior years. This is graduation, baby. We're making it through. I hit up John. I'm like, yo, how you been, my friend? What are you doing? You guys having a celebration? Tell your mama I'm coming through to get some of that food. He's like, yo, Dre, happy birthday. It'd be really great to see you. Yes, I had a graduation party also scheduled later that day. Yeah, I was in Tacoma, like downtown Tacoma, and he was in like Twin Lakes Federal Way. So what? I did not actually have a car. None of these things were factors to me. I just knew I had to go see my boy, even if it was just to pop in to be like, what up, y'all? And then nice way out of there. Right? So I said, fuck it. I left. I got straight on the bus and I just started riding to Federal Way. I got off at the brand new transit center. It's 09. Things are real nice. It's looking cool. I'm like, oh yeah, not bad. I know what bus I need to catch, y'all. I know my bus is. I'm from Federal Way. I did this. I need to catch the 903 to get me over to Star Lake. It's easy, right? Get off of my bus. I see the 903 coming. I'm like, oh, snaps. Kind of hurry up to it, get a little shuffle. Had a great time. Get on the bus. We pull out of the, oh my God, we pull out, right? And the bus goes exactly the wrong direction. Like exactly the wrong direction. Like I need to go right. I need to go down. Oh my God, no. I'm going further and further and I'm pulling the thing as fast as I can. I'm like, no, I need to get out. The closest stop was Wild Waves, an enchanted village.
No.
Can you think that I was happy at this point in time in my life, y'all? Nah. I was heated. Already, I was cutting it close on a time schedule. Already, I had to go back to my party. I wanted to see my dude. Now I have to walk all the way because I don't know when another bus is coming. On my phone, it was like hanging around my neck, and I'm listening to music. And I'm not just happy-go-lucky, Dre, you see right now. I'm upset, y'all. It's upsetting. I have to walk all the way back. I'm probably not gonna make it. I had a very tight deadline, cutting it close, and now it's all screwed up. I finally walk my way back, and I can see back then, I think it was, no, I think they might have called it the SeaTac Mall, the Commons, whatever you want to call it. I could see it, and I was like, man, sorry, John, I can't go over there, man. I can't do it. I'm just gonna, I don't know, get some ice cream. I'm hot. I'm exhausted. I tried. My trip's ruined. I can't do the thing. I'm like, forget it, man. I'm just gonna go get some ice cream, then I'll go back home and enjoy my graduation party. It's all good. I'll call him. It'll be a good thing. So there I am walking up the street. I see that the signal for the crosswalk's blinking, like that flashing hands just came up as I'm walking like halfway through the walk sign. So I'm like, oh, pick up my pace a little bit, make it across. I'm still listening to my music, just like jamming, walking down the street, was just like, forget it. I'll see my dude. At least I'll be able to get some ice cream. I'll go back. It'll be a good time. I'm walking. And I heard, can you pull over to the side of the road, please? And I'm like, somebody's over there getting arrested. They're driving like an idiot. So I keep walking and enjoying my thing, right? I'm still strolling. And then I hear, sir, stop walking. And I'm like, wait, no one else is walking here, but maybe.
Okay, Dre, we're gonna put you on pause right there, man. That's a great place to leave us hanging on this cliff as you're walking along by the side of the road and some authority figure has put the freeze on you. Excellent. All right, so let's take a look at that happy birthday drawing, and we're gonna leave that story there for just a few minutes while we bring up our fourth storyteller, Jay Hitt. Jay, come on in, Jay, to this fabulous room. There's Jay. Jay is one of the people who really makes unexpected productions happen with lots of oversight and direction and performing skills. All right, so Jay, you ready to go?
Yeah, I think so, man. Great stories,
okay.
Everybody, man. They're good stories.
Yeah, fabulous. Okay, so Jay's story, I love this title. It's called Dork Ninja. Go ahead, Jay.
All right. Well, I was born in Seattle, but then right around third grade, I moved to Wyoming. I moved to a little town called Lusk, Wyoming, and it was a great town. I made a lot of friends. Everybody was pretty close to each other. And then around fifth grade, I moved out to a little town called Van Tassel, Wyoming, population 21. And Van Tassel had it was a prairie town with big rocks, and they were sandstone rocks, and they went anywhere from like 1 story, 2 stories. Some of them got up to probably, I would guess, around 4 stories high. They just went forever. And so my dog, LJ, and I would climb these rocks all the time. That's where I lived. I loved climbing. We'd find little caves. We'd be on the top. We would always be climbing rocks. And one time I had a birthday party there. All of my friends, they came out with me, climbing the rocks. They always asked if they could come out. They could go to Jay's to stay out there and play on the rocks. And actually, I lived in a schoolhouse, which doesn't have a lot to do with the story, but it's the fact that I lived in the schoolhouse was a cool thing. So in 6th grade, we moved back into the town of Lusk. So I'm in a town from, going from 21 people to 1,500 people. It's huge. Anyway, so, but I don't have rocks there anymore.
Oh.
So my friends and I, we got into kind of climbing buildings. We like to climb up abandoned buildings. Sometimes we would sneak inside of them. We love climbing buildings. I ordered my first ninja suit when I was in 6th grade. And then, of course, I did say first. I had 3. I had 3 ninja suits. I still have pieces of them to this day, several years later. But so we all would run around in our ninja suits in Lusk. We'd zip around, we'd hide. Sometimes the police would chase us. We actually encouraged them to chase. We'd let them see us and we'd run and try to ditch them. Often climbing up on the buildings of the businesses downtown after they were closed. We would look at certain people's houses of friends that we knew, not even thinking that their dads might have guns that they'd shoot us off the roof. But we would be climbing a lot. And that happened from junior high all the way into high school. Our ninja suits, my friends, we got all these martial art weapons like nunchucks. I have like nunchucks, and we have all these. Anyway, this is from 6th grade. I got a bunch, a big wall of them. Anyway, so we like to play. We like to do the roof thing, and then of course we part our ways and we go to. We all go off to college. So I went to a little community college called Casper College. And I met 3 friends, specifically Lori, Melanie, and Christopher. And Christopher and I were a lot like my friends from Lusk, where we like to get into adventures and we like to climb on things. The side of our dorm had these little bricks that stuck out probably less than an inch. I would say 3/4 of an inch or a half inch. It was maybe about the size of I don't know, I got a cell phone battery here. I'm sticking it, but it would stick out just enough to where we thought, wouldn't it be a great idea to climb that? And so this dorm is 3 stories high. No, I'm sorry, 2 stories high. I guess I'm thinking of the roof. If you get on the roof, it's 3. So you can either climb it going straight up, or they were spaced out enough to where you could climb it like kind of a Spider-Man climb. You could do that. Christopher was the straight up guy. He was able to climb up, and he was able to just climb it like this, and he got all the way to the top and tipped himself over to the other side. I couldn't do it that way. I had trouble doing it that way, so I had to do the Spider-Man type. I had to reach out and climb it, and I literally, if you'd have saw me, you would have thought I was Spider-Man. And this is without ninja suits. Part of the motivation was Lori and Melanie were roommates. The upper level was the girls' dorms. We were on the lower level. We were on the boys' dorm. So we were going to climb up and just, we knew we wouldn't be able to get into their window. We would just tap on them and wave to them and say hi and let them scream and go, "What are you guys doing?" So we climb up. He made it up to the top. And then I started climbing up like Spider-Man up to the side of the dorm. And I got 2 feet from the top almost and realized there was a brick missing where I was trying to reach. And this brick, there was nothing there. And then I tried to go over this way and I couldn't go over this way to do it like a ladder like Christopher did. I just wasn't capable of doing it. My body wasn't positioned right or something. And it was cold outside, which was really stupid. I mean, it was stupid to be doing it in the cold, but so my hands were getting cold and starting to shake. And I'm trying my best to figure out what to do, and my body is getting tighter and tighter, starting to freeze up. My leg was vibrating, starting to vibrate, and I actually looked down and said, "Stop, stop, stop!" And Christopher goes, Jay, here, try to hang on to my coat." So he took off his coat and he lowered his coat down, and by that point, my hand was so cold. I tried to grab his coat, and it was like it was more flimsy than his coat. I was trying to grab it, and I couldn't grab on. I had no grip in my hands, and I'm looking down, and below me was cement. There was a little spiky bush, but it wouldn't have stopped me. It probably would have killed me. But I looked down, and then I go to reach up again, and he goes, "Jay, don't fall. If you fall, I'm going to kill you." And I said, "Christopher, you're probably going to have to kill me because I know I'm going to fall."
Okay, stop right there. That's the perfect place to stop. Oh my God, it's a literal cliffhanger. It's dangling from the side of a building in freezing weather in the middle of Wyoming. Okay, excellent. Wow, fabulous, Jay. We're putting you on pause. Oh, I can't wait to hear how that one ends. Let's go back now to our storyteller number 3, Dre Anderson. Let's bring back Dre's storybook. Let's see it. It's called Happy Birthday. And the last time we heard from Dre, he was walking alone at night, the side of the road, trying to get to a friend's graduation party at a bus disaster. All right. So let's hear. And then someone told you to like pull over. Dre, what happened next?
I heard, "Sir, stop walking." And I just felt this like chill go down my spine. Like I knew instantly this is gonna suck. I turned around and of course I seen the officer park. Like we were right there next to where the Azteca is, like right outside of the Target parking lot. Like I can see it so vividly. I was so close to getting to the mall and having some ice cream. I just wanted this day to be a good one, and it was not feeling good at this point. So I'm privy. I recognize a person in blue when I see one. So I have my phone around my neck at the time. It was just hanging off of like a lanyard or shoestring, whatever the hell it was. And I just remember calling my dad and putting him on speakerphone. I was like, "Dad, I just need you to listen." If it was 2020, I would have just turned on record, but it's fine. My dad was on the line. He heard the whole thing. So dude's like, "I'm gonna need to see your ID. You walked across the street and caused a car to swerve out of its lane because you didn't wait for the crosswalk."
Oh.
What?
Oh.
I didn't hear a car swerve. I didn't hear a car honk. Like, I feel like that little side street doesn't even have cars going the way. Like, I didn't cross the main road. I just crossed the little side street there. Like, hold on a second. It already sounds suspect, but I'm like, all right. I'll just reach for my wallet. Like, I was like, I have my school ID. I'm 18 years old. I don't know what's happening. So I like reach into my pocket and I pull out my like, I don't know if if I can convey how slow I went to pull out my wallet. I'm like tortoise in the hair. I'm thinking sloth slowness, as if my life is T-Pain in the 2004 VMAs and he's just in slow motion. Reaching down from my pocket. And then I feel my wallet and I feel my hand just like shaking inside of my pocket, reaching for my wallet. And I'm just like, I pull out my wallet, and as soon as before I can even really open the wallet, he goes, "Whoa, what's that?" and grabs me by the wrist and throws my arms behind me and starts just putting me, trying to arrest me. And I'm like, hold on. I was like, I don't understand. What did I do wrong? My dad's on the phone. I'm like, Dad, I don't understand. I'm not doing anything wrong. He's like, stop resisting arrest. Stop resisting. I'm like, I'm not resisting anything. I just need to understand why you're arresting me. What did I do wrong? And he puts me both hands tied behind in cuffs. I'm gonna just do a quick pause here. Dude was really, he was really weak. It was he was trying to put me up. Really, truly was not resisting. He just couldn't do the thing. I had to I had to
Barney fight.
I had to help let him do the thing. I was like, he's telling me not to resist, but I kind of feel like I can resist. Better not. All right, so I'm back in the story. We're doing this thing, and he has me both, and he's checking me, and he's frisking me, and it's not a gentle frisk, I hadn't had a girlfriend at that point in time in my life yet, but I imagine a frisk would be nicer than that. It was very violent, very rough, in every nook and cranny of my outfit. It was just I don't even know what you're doing. I have no idea what's going on. And he just looks at me, and then he's just like, why is he nodding at me? What does that mean? Oh my God, there's so many questions that I have that are going on in my head. And he opens the door, and I'm like, wait, but it's my birthday. And he's just happy birthday. Just shoves my head into the back of his car. So I'm in the back of the car, just stuffed up in here, and I'm literally on my side in this thing, just dear Heavenly Father, please let me get out of this situation. I don't know what's going on. I hear 2 other cop cars pull up. There's 3 to 4 cops standing outside, gathered around, and I can just hear them discussing me as if I'm not even a human. They're just oh yeah. What was this one in for? What'd you get him for? And he's I thought that he might have something. Did he have anything? They're like, nah, he didn't have anything. And they're like, nah. Well, you know what to do. I'm in the back what are they gonna do? So they pull me out of the car, same officer. He's just you got 2 choices here. We can either take you downtown, or you can take these tickets. So I took the tickets. I was I don't want to go downtown. I want to go home. It's my birthday. It's my graduation party. I couldn't say any of that. I was just freaking took the tickets and read them as they were driving off. Obstruction of justice, resisting arrest, jaywalking, totaling up to 3 different gross misdemeanors, which would mean I would have to pay upwards of hundreds of dollars within court, which 18-year-old Dre, who had a job at Tacoma Mall, working at Lids and Anchor Blue, wasn't gonna pay. What? Oh man, it was insane. I felt like I was worried about all of the things. We could have potentially had to go to and actually spend time in jail for something so stupid, and I couldn't afford a lawyer. So I make it back to the home. I don't get the ice cream. Don't. Just get on the bus and I go home. I call my dad. I let him know. I walk into my graduation party. Everybody's like, happy birthday! And I just they could see it in my eyes. They're like, oh, what happened? I explained the story to the fam and all the things that were happening. Like, man, I couldn't believe it. My mentor was livid. He was like, I can't believe that they were just out here profiling you and just seeing what you might have. So upset. He makes some phone calls. He calls up this lady, Chris Costella, this little, like, I swear, she's like 5'2". This little, just like, oh man, she's like Irish. She's just like a bulldog. She's ready to fight. And she was ready. She heard the whole story and she was just like, nah, this isn't right. She's like, I'm gonna do the whole thing pro bono. We're gonna make sure you are gonna be okay through this situation. I ended up continuing to do some community service at Habitat for Humanity's, the Restore location. I was already doing it in school. She was like, just keep doing what you're doing. We'll show the judge that you're a good kid. And I was like, all right, cool. Kept doing that, had the court date. Officers didn't even bother to show up. Whole case was dismissed. And the judge just had the most sincere look on her face. She was like, young man, I am sorry that you were a victim to what is very clearly racial profiling in our city. And I wish there was more that I can do about it. But all I can say is, case dismissed. And yeah, that was a birthday to remember. It was my welcome to adulthood. Welcome to being an 18-year-old black man in America. God bless.
Dre, first of all, I applaud you for a fantastic story and fantastically told. And I mean, there's so much to say about that story. And first of all, I'll say I'm so glad you're okay, because we all know stories like that didn't turn out okay. So that's the main thing. Second of all, what happened to you is wrong in so many ways. And we're gonna, after the final story is told, we're all gonna have a chance to kind of reflect on these stories. I'd kind of love to hear what the other people have to say as we unpack some of these issues. But for now, I just want to say thank you for sharing that story with us. It was fantastic. And it strikes me in a lot of ways. So we'll pick that up.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Wow. Well, let's finish our fourth story. Then we're going to go back to Jay Hitt, and Jay's story is called Dork Ninja. And if you recall, Jay literally left us hanging from the side of a building in frigid Wyoming with 3 of his friends at a college. Jay, tell us how that story ended. Go ahead.
So it was so cold, and my hand had at that point had no strength at all. I couldn't hang on to this hand now. I couldn't grab the coat. My foot started vibrating, and again, just to remind you, Christopher said, "If you fall, I'm going to kill you." I said, "You're probably going to kill me because I'm going to fall." And my foot vibrated right off that brick. I went 2 stories down, 2 feet from the top of this 2-story building, all the way down, hit the cement, missed the bush. I think part of the bush got me because there was a scratch on me. I think it was from the bush. I was laying there, and Christopher just shot off on the roof. There happened to be a ladder on the other side of the dorm. He climbed down it. Lori and Melanie came out. They helped me into Christopher's VW van, took me to the hospital. Got to the hospital. They put both of my feet started to swell up. My ankles swelled up to the size of footballs. They put these braces, these casts. They're plastic Velcro-y type, big, bulky casts on my each foot, on both feet. Gave me some crutches. I went back to the dorm. And I had a skateboard. I pushed myself around on the skateboard for almost a week, and then Christopher decided that let's all go on a road trip. So literally within just a few days, just about 5 days later, for that next weekend, I'm in my 2 casts with the crutches. We're taking his VW van up through a mountain in Wyoming, kind of on the on one side of Sheridan, Wyoming. So we're going up. We drove up it with Lori and Melanie, and he finds that his van starts overheating. The brakes were overheating. So we get on the opposite side, the downhill side of the mountain, and he stops. He had trouble stopping it, but he stops the van. He gets out of the van. He yells an expletive. I think it was just shit. And he walks up the side of the hill, and Melanie runs after him. Laurie's sitting there in the driver's seat. I'm in the back of the van, again in my casts. And Laurie was like, "Oh my God, he was really upset." And then the van goes, "Kook." And Laurie looked back and goes, "Did you feel that?" I go, "Yeah." Then it goes, "Kook." And then,
oh no.
and it goes, "Kook, kook, 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 kook," and starts to go down the hill fairly slowly. Laurie jumps out of the driver's side. She didn't know what to do. Now I'm in the back of the van. It's going down this mountain road. One side of the mountain is a steep slope with trees. I mean, if the van goes that way, it's gonna just be disintegrated. Luckily, it slightly turned naturally this way, hits the kind of the upslope on this side, hits the wall or hits the side of the mountain and flips over onto its side, and it's sliding down the mountain on its side. I'm sitting on the screen. I remember the screen door because the window broke, but the glass wasn't getting me because I'm on the screen. I could feel it kind of, and it goes to a stop, and I see Laurie pop out. She peeks in from the back, and she goes, "Jay!" And then she goes, I look in the back, I wave at her, I'm okay. She goes, "My camera!" Get her expensive camera. Her camera was fine. We get out, somebody drives up, gets us, all that. I get home, I'm kind of speeding through this because it has I get home and I am on my crutches, my braces. I'm making my way up to my house, and there was 3 stairs. All I had to do was get up these 3 stairs, and I'd be home. So I get up 1 stair. I get up the 2nd stair. Right when I get up the 3rd stair, my dog LJ comes running out, jumps on me. I fall down the stairs. I threw my crutches. I yelled an expletive that wasn't shit. And then the dog came over and licked me, and then that's how it all. That was my week. That happened like in the span of under 2 weeks.
That was fabulous. Bravo.
Thanks.
Oh, I love it. So I think, Jay, the only question is, who do you want to play you as the star of this action movie? Should it be Tom Cruise or The Rock or someone? There's so much going on there.
Oh, I don't know if we could afford The Rock. Maybe Vin Diesel.
Yeah.
I thought him.
Okay. All right. So let's take a look at the storybook of Jay, the Dork Ninja, and his.
What's up on the wall?
Wow. All right. Well, we have finished with our 4 stories, some great stories. And again, thanks to Jason for the music and Ann for the visual art. So let's bring everybody back onto the screen, all 4 storytellers. And Jason and Ann, you're welcome to join us too and participate with just a little debrief. I'd love everyone to just share your thoughts on that experience, what it was like for you to tell the story or to hear the other stories, things that have made you think or feel, or other memories and reactions. So who has some thoughts? Go ahead, anybody. We'll just open it up.
Oh my God, I just thought everyone was so good and so brilliant. And boy, oh boy, Dre, you sure made me feel damn. I'm so sorry. That sucks.
Oh, yeah.
And the more
Yeah.
I've always said stories bring us together, and stories are the glue that hold our society. And the more stories that people hear like that will hopefully help end shit like that.
Yes, totally agree. Thank you for just being so real about this. I mean, and before earlier tonight, Kent and I were talking, and both of us were on Capitol Hill to check in on things there, the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. And, you know, that's what this is all about, these stories, and people are there who really want to change things. And to hear individual true stories, is, like Kent said, that's a huge step in bringing about a better world.
Yeah, man.
Others?
Thanks for giving me a place to share the story. Like, you know, I told intergenerational place for a little bit, and that was a story that we used. We would go to like retirement homes and showcase that story and a collection of others from the members of the cast. And we would have people act it out, play the parts of the officers. We had 2 white guys that were in the group. They played it well. It was just, yeah. So it's I've had some practice telling the story, but it's never been like this. So this was a new element, and it was and thank you guys for giving me the place. Like, thanks for hearing. I don't know how you heard about this story in the first place, but glad you requested it. I'm happy to share my tale if that helps other people out there.
Very good. Very good. Very good.
Yeah, great story. Yeah, well, it was after Dre's story, it was hard to follow that. I was like, holy shit, Dre was shot. Oh, but so it was hard to kind of follow. It was great story. And everybody, like I love the leading up to the orb, because we didn't know what that was, and I kept forgetting you were just a kid. And it was amazing. And then the doorbell ditch, the lasers. That's, man, everybody. Yeah, and great stories, or great pictures, and great playing music and everything. Nice, everything.
Yeah, this is a fun format, guy.
Yeah, really cool.
You guys made it happen.
And Anne, thank you for the amazing visuals, and Jason, again, thank you for the great music, for all of it. And it just is, I know you guys, you're all my local fans, so it's fun to hear these different sides of you that I never knew. The different stories.
Yeah, it's interesting when we get an opportunity to share our tales. It's like it's a different level of being able to bond. Like hearing your stories, even if we're just hearing an 8-minute story, like, man, it gives us a glimpse into the life that we never had those 8 minutes to spare to tell while we're walking next to each other in the theater, or while we're in the middle of a show on stage. It's not always the easiest time to be like, hey, yo, tell me about that time. like, you know. So it's a beautiful way to get to learn more about my UP family, and you know, showcase what we've been through. Everybody has their struggles, and Jay is a real life ninja. In case anybody forgot that, like, that's what he do. I just didn't know that you ever broke your whole body.
I didn't break anything, luckily.
You still have a ninja outfit?
Yeah, it's I have the top, and I think I have the pants somewhere.
Put it on, put it on, put it on.
The top, yeah. I have a big bunch of weapons over there. But yeah, in 6th grade, we were just so into martial arts, and luckily, I grew up. I think a lot of the police officers from our town were just like the kids that I'd gone to school with, kind of. So I think it was a little different. You'd think like maybe in like a little tiny rancher town that they'd be a little more like strict, because I had a little bit of definitely some racial. Well, I had hair. I looked very much like a black guy. I was the black guy of the town. I was the only black guy of the town, and but I was lucky enough to they treated me pretty well. But I did have racism toward me. But man, running around in ninja suits, I couldn't get away with doing that in Seattle or anywhere else. Like,
now, was it because it was like the 70s and
80s?
Yeah, movies were the big thing.
Yeah, 80s. Yeah, it was all in the 80s, pretty much.
Yeah. Jay was real quick to say, I'm from the 80s. The 80s.
Cool.
Yeah.
And Sarah, learning about your Guam, those lizards creep me out.
Oh my God. And they eat, eat meat.
They eat people.
Meat.
Nice format though, guy. I like the cliffhanger element.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a fun one to score for sure.
Yeah, Jason, you were fabulous. Loved it. All right. Well, maybe we can wind it up here. Are we done? Any final comments, or is this the end of the show?
What did Ann think?
Ann, do you have any comments?
I think it was great. I really enjoyed this. I have to tell you my own little cliffhanger here. I'm at my daughter's house and she has a dog, and I'm drawing away and I hear the dog puking on the floor behind me.
Oh.
So it's like I'm trying to listen, but I'm hearing the dog.
Okay.
Not many things that
Good.
make you move as quickly as a dog vomiting.
That's right. I'm not going to get off the chair too fast here.
Yeah. Well, you
Watch
kept your
yourself.
focus. Great job there. We had no idea what you were going through.
Yeah,
All right,
that
that's
was
my
so cool. I
sister.
It's
definitely
great
need
though.
one.
Loved your stories. Thanks to everyone.
I definitely need that image. I'm gonna have to like save that to my IG or something like that because you were so talented. That was really
Can we get the images from you?
Yeah, I can send them to you.
Dude.
I'll send them to Guy. All
Okay.
right.
Yeah, you definitely
Cool.
will get a
Great.
copy of that.
Thanks.
All right, everyone,
Thanks to all
thanks
of you.
again so much for everything. And thank you out there for watching us. And we love your support in any way possible at unexpectedproductions.org. There's a link there if you'd like to donate a little bit of change. That would be great. So we'll do this again for sure. Okay, good night, everybody. We love you all. Good night.
Good
All
Have a
right.
great life. Bye.
Bye.